Update. My 28 female parents were given $30,000 from my grandparents for a wedding and down payment for me. They spent all of it in vacations and now want me to take out a loan for a wedding. Original post. Long story short, my grandparents are wealthy. My mother is very spoiled and self-centered. Additionally, I believe she likely has a cluster B personality disorder. Every single situation is somehow about her. My dad's side can't stand her because she sows chaos anywhere she goes. For example, my dad's side threw a birthday party for one of my cousins. The whole day was focused on a fight because she spent $8 on ingredients to make a lasagna to bring, then ruins the poor kid's birthday. This is just one example, but this every situation, every time she is the center of everything. Her family is pretty wild. I've been present for multiple fist fights between her and her sisters. Every fight stems from someone getting more money than the other. One time, my mom had a phone cord wrapped around my aunt's neck. Although terrible, it was kind of impressive to be honest, as my mom's a small person. Anyway, despite my grandparents being wealthy, I grew up pretty poor in the beginning. My mom got cut off a few years, probably had something to do with the phone cord incident. I remember going to food banks for food, clothes for donations, etc. When things did get better, my parents refused to spend any money on me. If I had clothes for school, it was because my aunt bought me an outfit for Christmas. I mean, they were ridiculous with it. My grandfather, dad's side, tried to get custody of me due to neglected alcoholism. As for the wealthy grandparents, look, I'm not entitled. It's their money. But every grandchild except me got their college paid for, got a car, a down payment on a house, and a wedding. Super freaking generous. I was just hurt that I got none of these things. It felt personal. I felt it was their way of communicating that they loved me less, and that damaged our relationship. Fast forward to this week. I'm engaged. I wasn't expecting a big wedding. I was okay with eloping. But I figured my parents might want to do something since I'm their only kid. So I asked them what they wanted to do. Well, my mom was drunk because, it's 2 p.m. Confesses to the 30,000 thing. Then the next day, non-stop pressuring me into taking out a loan. I refused and say, you were given 30,000 for a wedding and a down payment, but you decided vacations and cars were more important. Then the whole thing gets turned into, poor her. Can you believe she won't get to plan a wedding with her daughter because the daughter expects a wedding to be paid in full? What a spoiled witch. Now I have relatives calling me up with this BS. They're under the impression that I'm being a diva. I keep dodging the conversation, but I don't know how long I can do it. Because once my relatives find out, there is no saving her reputation with them. Also, through all of this, found out my grandparents did give money for college. The problem is they gave it to my mom and she spent it. It must have been a decent amount too because my grandparents are under the impression that they paid my college in full. I'm at a loss. I haven't talked to my parents in a week. I know they're my parents and I need to forgive them no matter what, but this is hard. It almost feels like they aren't my parents anymore. That bonding feeling, or whatever it is gone. Sorry that this post was long. It felt cathartic typing this out. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Are your grandparents still alive? If yes, then tell them everything about what happened to the money. If they aren't, tell your relatives everything. And I mean the entire truth. What's the point trying to cover up your mom's reputation when clearly she's a horrible person? How long will you keep enabling her and her condescending attitude? Choice is yours. OP this. You haven't done anything to your mom's reputation. She did all of that, and you're the victim. Don't let her turn you into the devil for this. She's a narcissist and needs to be shown for who she is. Jumping on this to add that OP is under no obligation to forgive her parents no matter what. Everyone gets to choose where their line is, and when/if they want a relationship with someone. Cut out all of the middleman and speak to your grandparents. Explain to them that the reason you're not speaking to your parents is that they have recently confessed that they spent the college and wedding money that your grandparents gave to them that was intended for you. Explain to your grandparents that you're extremely hurt by this, because not only does it show how dishonest, selfish, and unloving your parents are towards you, but you have existed for years believing that you were the only grandchild that your grandparents never helped for some unfathomable reason, and so you always felt rejected and cast aside by them too. The damage that has been done by their actions is wide-ranging, and not only are you emotionally hurt, but you have college debt and could be in a significantly better financial position if this hadn't happened. It's also worth pointing out that in most countries, this would constitute fraud and theft. They have defrauded your grandparents by pretending to have used this money for the intended purpose. They have stolen this money from you. Your mother asking you to take out the loan is not about wanting to plan your wedding. It's about the fact that she wants to continue the lie to your grandparents. Her plan is that you take out the loan, have a $30,000 wedding, and she tells them that their money paid for it, while you were left with more debt, on top of your college debt. Do not assist your mother in defrauding your grandparents further. This is your grandparents' money. They deserve to know the truth of what happened to it, and why in all these years you never thanked them for any of the money they believed they gave you. Honestly, this would be enough for me to never speak to my parents again. I would even consider reporting them to the police, but I guess your grandparents would need to support that. Your parents' actions are so selfish and cruel it's unreal, and the fact other relatives try to save you from their care speaks volumes. Why your grandparents thought giving them the money was a good idea, I don't know. Please note also that throughout all of this, I have said parents, although you seem very focused on your mother alone. This was both of your parents. There is no excuse for your father having allowed any of this to happen. He is just as culpable and has benefited from the theft of your money. Once your grandparents are aware, tell your other relatives. You have done nothing wrong and don't deserve to suffer the consequences of keeping their actions a secret. And now for the update 1 year later. Not the exact wording of the first post, but it's still up. It is now a little over a year since. I appreciate all of the replies and I apologize for not getting back to everyone, but I read all of them. A lot of you showed sympathy for my grandparents, which is fair. But I think I should disclose that my grandfather is not the most ethical person. He is/was a really cutthroat business person. He was very awful to his children. Also, once he starts giving you huge gifts, he feels you're indebted to him. I was in shock and very emotional when I wrote that post. I went to Reddit because I felt I couldn't get it together enough to remain calm when talking to anyone else. I have a tendency to come off as defensive, which makes it seem like I did something wrong, which I think they were banking on. I didn't talk to my parents or any of my family much for a month. There was a word going around that I blew all the money. It was laying low until it all blew over. Then when people started asking me directly about it, I was able to remain calm and say I was never offered any money. People really grilled me about where the money went. I never got emotional or defensive. Just, I was never offered any money. Maybe you should ask them about the BMW. So everyone knows. I was afraid they wouldn't believe me at first. But considering my parents were financially abusive in my younger years, it wasn't a far stretch. I never planned a wedding because I knew my parents would lie and say they paid for it. I really considered going no contact. My husband talked me into low contact, but we both agreed that we will never give them any money or nice gifts. We will do the bare minimum. As for my grandparents, this conflict is now between them and my parents. Again, everyone is fully aware and no one faults me. Your parents stole the money from your grandparents, intended not only for your wedding, but another considerable sum for your education? Then they expect you to take out a loan to pay for your mom to have the pleasure of organizing your wedding? They are complete narcissists. Firstly, congratulations on your marriage. Sounds like you had a low-key wedding? Good on you for celebrating within your budget and making the best start possible in your marriage. Secondly, I'm amazed how you have remained calm and dignified with your relatives as they speculated about your spending. The truth is out, but nobody's agitating on your behalf for your parents to make restitution for their thievery. I hope your mother's share of the inheritance is adjusted for the sum once your grandmother passes. Finally, your parents have inadvertently given you the gift of self-reliance, which will serve you well into the future as you pay off college debt and save for your children's future and your retirement. Is that how they justified withholding the money from you? Since maybe your mom never got anything from her parents? Honestly, it's not worth talking to them to find out. All the best for a future filled with love for the family you've created for yourself. My mother did get a lot from her parents, but they cut her off for a period of time. I don't think this even registers in her mind as wrong. When I was a young teen, I had to get a job to help pay for basic hygiene products and clothes. They were authorized on my bank account since I was a minor. They wouldn't let me have access to it, and stole money from it constantly. They always treated me like I was a financial burden just for existing. They expected their siblings and parents to pay for my necessities. I think they feel this is reimbursement for raising me. I'm angry on your behalf that your extended family knew of this financial mistreatment, and yet did nothing to help you. Parents are obligated to nurture and look after their children. Your parents' narcissism knows no bounds. In some ways, I'm glad you're not completely no contact, as seeing them occasionally just reminds you how far you've moved on from them. I hope your in-laws are fabulous. I think your husband is wrong about low contact. It should be no contact. What's the point of having them in your life? They sound awful and abusive. So, your grandparents gifted you $30,000 and your parents spent it? Or to rephrase that, your parents blew $30,000 of your money? Why are you still in contact with these people? I get their family, but they don't seem to give a crap about you. They actually handed my parents $50,000. They wanted them to use that $50,000 to pay for a wedding, put a down payment on a home for me, and use the remainder, no more than $20,000, towards their debt. Unfortunately, they gave the money to them, not me. They wanted my parents to be responsible for divvying out the money. I guess to make sure I made good decisions when purchasing. But they didn't do that. Legally, I don't have a leg to stand on. There was no paperwork. It was a gift. And believe me, my grandparents would not look kindly on me taking this to court and would not back me up. They're also both in poor health, and I don't want to put that extra chaos on them. I don't know how much longer they're going to live. Next story. I found out that my parents paid out my sister's tuition loans and pressured them to keep it a secret from me. Not that I'm jealous or even slightly upset. I'm just curious to find out why, and more importantly, why they stressed it should be kept a secret from me. My 23 male recently graduated from a top master's degree. During my undergrad, I had many scholarships and grants. Everything was virtually free. For the miscellaneous, it was super expensive, so I took out a loan to cover the cost. It was fine by me because now I make twice as much as I paid, and I can easily redeem my debt if I wanted to. My parents didn't contribute to my education, and I never asked them to. Recently, I found out that my sisters, 25 and 21, had no outstanding debt. I had to arrange trades and due diligence in their accounts. As requested, it was surprised to see no debt, considering that a year earlier they couldn't stop complaining about it. $150,000 combined. I was happy for them at first glance, but when I told them about it over Thanksgiving, they seemed shaken, like I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. Few days later, my older sister told me that our parents paid everything for them, and were clear in instructing them to keep me in the dark. I asked why, but couldn't get a definitive answer. From what I could tell, my sister knows the reason, but has refused to tell me. I'm just really curious. I have a great relationship with my parents. They've always been positive about my education and work. I'm just fretting the possibility they might be thinking I'm a failure or too reckless or such like. Again, I earn decently and live very comfortably, and my parents know all about it. Not sure if I'm just making a big deal out of nothing, but would really appreciate any insight here. Do I just leave it behind or talk about it? It's pretty awful for your parents to do that. It's one thing to pay for them and not you, but it's another thing to lie and hide it. Rather than them thinking you're a failure, I'd say it's much more likely they knew you'd make it on your own without their help. They may not have been so confident in your sisters. It's not pretty crappy of his parents to do so. It's super crappy. Talk to them. You're not making a big deal out of nothing. It's a huge deal for them to treat you so differently to your sisters and to keep it a secret from you. Anyone in your position would be hurt and questioning their motives. Talk to your parents. Whether you really need the money or not, it's BS to give two kids $150,000 and a third kid $0. Even if you were totally debt-free, if they had $150,000 total to give their kids, each should have gotten an equal amount. As an aside, it'd be totally normal for you to be jealous and upset. This is BS on your parents' part, and you are allowed to have feelings about it. I agree 100% this is not right, and clearly they know it was wrong. That's why they kept it a secret. I would disagree that everyone should always get an equal amount. Opie seems to be more gifted than his siblings. Life is never fair with what it hands out. You may argue that it's his hard work and diligence that got him where he is, and you would be absolutely right. But if you think about it, some people can put in the work and some cannot. Maybe it's the people they meet. Maybe it is the way they're born. Maybe it is about the expectations from you. Whatever is the reason, Opie is far better off than her siblings. If they gave $50,000 to Opie, it would definitely be nice, but it wouldn't be life-changing. That money was probably life-changing for his siblings. But if you're not equally dividing things, it can definitely create problems. The correct thing to do would be to talk to the Opie about this. If they said that they were thinking about paying off sister's debt and they thought since Opie is doing well enough, would he let them off the hook? I believe Opie wouldn't be upset about it at all. But the secrecy, the exclusion it brings, the feeling of things going on behind your back, that's just unnecessary pain they caused by choosing to go behind his back. Now for the last story. My female 17 parents have taken all my savings that I was preparing for university. What can I do? The title really says it all. I am unbelievably upset and exhausted that I just don't know what to do. I had over $4,000 saved from working the last few years that I was going to use for university next year, but it was in an account my parents controlled. My mom is a gambler and spends almost every evening at VLTs. I now she took my money to cover basic expenses like insurance and power bills. I just don't know what to do now other than wait until I can move out in July. I love my mother, but she's really screwed me over. I know there isn't a way I can get the money back. I don't even know what to say to her. Now for the advice. This happened to me before I graduated high school as well. Saved all my Christmas and birthday money every year because I knew I wanted to go to college when I finished high school. After graduating, I asked where the money was, and my parents said that it went toward my rent for the past 18 years. That makes my blood boil. They chose to have you. So any living cost incurred for the first 18 years was completely on them. I can only imagine what they spent the money on. When you get the chance, cut your contact. Eliminate what is toxic in your life and focus on making yourself happy. Also, take some solace in the fact that $4,000 is like a couple pennies when it comes to loans like that. I have no idea how she's able to access your money, but you should probably make a bank account that she can't get into. If you're under 18, you legally can't have a bank account in the US without an adult co-signing, meaning they have joint access to the account. Normally, parents aren't crappy enough to take money from their own kids, but it does still happen. Update. I-33 female read my husband's 37 journal, and in it he says that he hates me and hopes I die. Original post. My husband has kept a semi-regular journal throughout our 4-year relationship. He does not keep it hidden, and up until now I've always respected his privacy. We had a heated conversation and my gut told me to read it. So after we left for work, I did. He wrote several times that he hates me, and at one point he said when I was sick he hoped I would die. When I read those words, I packed up me and our baby and went to a friend's where I'm staying now. I took pictures of all the pages. I told him I just need some space to cool off after our conversation and I will be home soon. I booked with my therapist and contacted a lawyer. We had a rough patch recently that lasted about 2 weeks. It was a dark time, but we pulled through. There was no violence, no moments where I was afraid of him, just sincere conversations about difficult feelings. The notes of hatred correspond with that rough patch. The rest of the journal is tame and reflects the men I know and love, mostly little self-pep talks around work and family stuff, goals, habit tracking. He has sent me several warm messages since I left. He says he's glad I'm taking space for myself, that he looks forward to reconnecting when I come home, that it's okay to have little hiccups and that he loves me, etc. I was sure our relationship was over the moment I read that he hates me, or even the moment I felt the need to violate his privacy, but the warm messages and the rest of the journal have me wavering a little. I understand the need to blow off steam when things are tense, and journaling is a healthy way to do that. But never in even our darkest moments have I fantasized about his death. Splitting up maybe, but this feels so sinister. I don't know how I could ever feel safe around him again. Is this just healthy venting and I'm overreacting here? Has anyone else had similar thoughts about his spouse that they then got over? Or is this a man I need to protect myself and my baby from? Edit to add context. The rough patch was about his feelings for another woman. He didn't cheat, but his friendship with her makes me uncomfortable. The part of the journal where he says he hates me was written as a love letter to her. He says he thinks about me dying and being replaced. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. He wishes you dead? And no, you are not overreacting. That is how he feels about you. All the other is an act. Girl, check if he has taken life insurance on your name with him as a beneficiary. Especially because they're fighting over the fact that he has feelings for another woman. Not a good combination of factors. Yeah, I don't want to wind up on the wrong end of a podcast. I would be genuinely scared if I knew my husband had thought of those thoughts and then gone to the effort of writing them down. I don't think it's safe for you and your baby to stay with him, especially if mere weeks ago he was wanting to replace you with another woman he has feelings for and was hoping you would die so he can move on with her easily. That's horrifying. If he wanted to be with someone else rather than you, the normal thing to write in a journal would be about leaving you amicably and then seeing the other woman, and feeling sad about leaving the mother of his child. Wanting you dead instead is a giant, massive red flag. And if I was in your shoes, I don't think I could ever trust him again. I'm married 17 years and I've never wished my spouse would die. Like what? Does he know you've seen this? He just left it out like he wanted you to see it. And you are the mother of his child. He doesn't know I've seen it. He has always left it out. This is really freaking scary. He didn't even bother hiding all that vitriol where you could never find it. He left it right out in the open, almost like he wanted you to see it. Please do not be swayed by those sweet little stupid texts. I'd always have someone with you if you're going to be in the house with him. I really don't want to see you on the news. Mini update. Thank you so much for all the advice and words of encouragement. Some of it was tough to read, but still deeply appreciated. Wanted to do an update because a lot of people were concerned for my safety. I took a commenter's advice and sent the pictures to a trusted friend. She pointed out that a passage I initially read as, "Every day I'd think about telling her," actually very clearly says, "killing her." I guess my brain couldn't comprehend that at first. I received a ton of helpful perspective and support, but that comment in particular might have saved my life. After I digested that, I called a crisis line and they were quite helpful in talking me through the shock. They also put me in touch with a center that's helping me get more affordable legal help. Bought some more time for my husband. Told him I'm enjoying getting out of town and I'd like to stay an extra night or two. I have therapy tomorrow and an appointment with a social worker to make a safety plan. I feel like I have a good crew of family, friends, and professionals supporting me. Absolutely zero regrets now about reading his journal. My gut told me something was off, but I couldn't have imagined a worst-case scenario as bad as this. I'm so glad the inner alarm bells were louder than my conscience this time. Nothing about this marriage is worth risking my life to salvage. Now for the full update. Just want to say a huge thank you to this community for helping me through a challenging time. Your comments and messages have been such a comfort, and I'm so touched by the kindness of internet strangers. At the suggestion of the social worker, I reported this journal to the local police, and that was unsurprisingly a 1 out of 10 experience. The officer I spoke to chided me for reading his journal, spoke about his reasonable expectation of privacy, and basically threatened to tell my husband I had reported him. I had to firmly advocate for myself and stress that I was afraid for my life. It was an awful conversation, but now there is at least a record which includes photos of the journal. The family lawyer I spoke with advised me to file a protection order right away. The order will ban him from all contact with me and our child, bar him from our residence, my workplace, and any other places I request. He would then have to prove to a judge that he is a fit parent to be able to see his daughter again. And then we would go to mediation to try and agree on what visitation would look like. Another wrench in this situation is that we own a business together. I have an appointment with another lawyer this week to discuss what my options are there. The business was my idea. I'm confident I can run it without him, and I want to. But it's put a lot of time into it, and it's the main source of income for both of us right now. It's a good moneymaker, and I'm worried he'd fight me tooth and nail on this. We take turns going in, so I went as usual on Saturday, with a friend and a baseball bat. I continued my act of intending to reconcile, doing video calls with a baby, etc. While I was at our workplace, I found another journal. Page after page love letters to this other woman going back months. The progression from "I liked seeing you at a grocery store" to "I drove past your house today" was wild. He writes about how he's deeply in love with her, can't wait to marry her, etc. He wrote about every interaction he's ever had with her, and the poor woman seems completely innocent and oblivious. Even what he perceived as flirting seems like basic politeness. He mentions a few other times that he wants me to die. The most recent entry was from a day before. He writes to her that he thinks I might be breaking up with him, but that's fine because he never liked me that much anyway. If he's upset about anything, it's just about losing the house, and how the breakup will be perceived by our friends and community. Curious if people think I should warn the other woman. It's my instinct not to, at least not before the ink dries in our impending paperwork. I was already concerned about how he might react to being served with a protection order. Most worried that he might try to sabotage our business or trash the house. Given how preoccupied he seems to be with his public image, I made a plan to confront him about the journals and use the protection order as leverage. Here's how it went down. I left the journal and my baby with my friend and went to our house with 2 trusted male friends and a baseball bat. They waited on our porch. I told my husband that if they heard anything louder than a speaking voice, they would come in with a bat. I told him I had to tell him something he wouldn't like to hear, and he needed to know that I had already taken steps to protect myself. I told him I had read the journals, specifically what he said about wanting me to die and thinking every day about ending me. I said I'd taken photos, that they are backed up, and a trusted source also has copies, that I also have the original copy of the journal full of love letters. I wondered until this moment if he had intended for me to find them, but he was obviously blindsided. He tried to say it was just venting, but I told him I would not be taking any chances or entertaining anything he has to say about it. That after reading what I read, I will never trust him or feel safe around him ever again. I told him that no one that knows him knows about this yet. The men on the porch just know that I'm breaking up with him and need support. This was true, aside from the friend that I called to stay with and the other friend I sent the photos to who lives on the other side of the country. I said I'm willing to protect his reputation here if he cooperates with me. I told him that I don't even have to ruin his chances with the other woman, but I can. I said that he can either do what I need to feel safe, or I can have that safety court ordered. He asked what I wanted, and I said I wanted him to give up the business. We'll sort out the details after I speak to the other lawyer, but for now I want his keys and I'll be changing the passwords and everything. He didn't put up any kind of fight. He didn't want to hear anything about what it would look like to go through the courts. He didn't ask about our baby. He just calmly got up and got the keys and asked if I wanted anything else. I told him that any communication with me should be about separation logistics only, like arranging a time for me to collect the rest of my things. Since then, he has blowing up my phone saying I know his heart, let's walk back from the edge, let's talk to a therapist, his sorry's words hurt me, etc. Each time, I just tell him he's crossing my boundaries, and he backs off. He apparently told his mom and sister everything and they're supporting him and getting help. He's been cooperative so far. He's interviewing for a new job, seeing a therapist, and updating me on his movements, though I didn't ask for this. I've temporarily moved in with my parents. My commute to work is longer, but I have help with baby and home-cooked dinners. Starting to settle into new routines, doing so much therapy and yoga. I inherited a small cabin before my husband and I met. It is currently being renovated, and the original plan was to move in there with my husband and baby when it's done. The cabin is actually in my mother's name, because she's never trusted my husband and wanted me to shield it from him in case of a divorce. Thank you, Mom. So, I will have a permanent home for me and baby very soon. The dust still needs to settle, and it could get worse before it gets better, but I'm optimistic at this point. I'm confident I'm going to come out the other side of this as a badass single mother with an incredible child, a thriving business, and an adorable little home. Honestly, the thought of having all those things on my own without my husband is so freeing. I've got a great village supporting me. Thank you all so much for being part of it. I am so thankful to read this. I've been thinking about you the last 2 days. So happy you advocated for yourself, took the correct measures, and didn't accept anything less than what you deserve in this life. The road ahead isn't ever as long as we think it is, and it's good you left and are able to heal and move forward. Thanks for keeping me in your thoughts. He doesn't care about his child. That is what's most shocking to me. He was always such an attentive father, but he's not fighting for her at all. I'd love to know exactly why OP's mother didn't trust the husband. What did she see in him? Sometimes it's just your gut. My stepsister had a boyfriend that eventually was found to be on several hookup sites and such. He never was violent, but gave off stalker vibes when she eventually broke up with him. Went so far that I was escorting her when she was meeting people because he would show up at her apartment. Separate from each other, my mother, I, and even my grandmother, who had met my stepsister once and had no contact to her at all, just had this bad gut feeling starting before he was found in those sites when thinking of her. Gut feelings are weird, man. My mom once told me regarding my now ex-husband but then fiancé that he seems like the kind of guy that would just up and unalive his family one night. And everyone would say, "Holy crap," we never saw that coming. It was just a specific and jarring comment. My ex-husband honestly seemed so sweet and innocent. When things started going downhill, he started stalking me, physically intimidating me, cornering me and towering over me. Told me he'll ensure I'm destitute when this is all done. He literally flipped to a different guy, and I think my mom saw something I didn't. I had a boyfriend sleep over when I lived at my mom's, and she didn't sleep all night. He was in my bed. I was on a couch. She was strict about sharing. It was her first time meeting him. I commented that I couldn't understand why she had an issue, when she'd never had an issue sleeping when I'd had past boyfriends sleep over on a couch. Turned out, he was emotionally abusive, and she sensed that something wasn't right about him at the first meeting. Sometimes people outside a relationship pick up a feeling, a vibe, an off-comment that those who are in a relationship can't see until later on. Last story. I still can't believe how my boyfriend changed since we discovered that I was pregnant. So me and my boyfriend have been together for 7 years and we are living together since 5. For 3 years, my boyfriend was never a sweet, romantic, and caring person with me. I still can't remember one romantic or caring thing he did for me, and I thought a lot during these 3 years of leaving him or not, because all he was doing was just living off his parents' money, drinking, watching football on the TV, and casually remembering that I too exist, and talking with me. Trust me when I say that after 3 years like this, I was having enough and was thinking to leave him, because I want a man, and not an amoeba that only remember about me for meals, watching TV with him at But then, out of the blue, he changed, and I still can't believe that he's the same. His parents unfortunately died 4 years ago, and just a week after the funeral, I found out that I was pregnant. I was extremely in doubt of telling him or just terminate, because a man like him wouldn't be better with a child. But then he found out my positive pregnancy test and told me that he was super happy while I was thinking about what to do. Since the day after, he completely changed. He started to be caring, sweet, romantic, quit drinking, and started to take good care of me and himself. So after 2 weeks of his change, somehow I decided to give him a one last chance to prove that he was seriously changed. But I admit that I was extremely skeptical. I didn't believe him at first, because to me, it was impossible that an amoeba like him could change seriously, and even when I was pregnant. But trust me, he completely changed. During my pregnancy, he became another man. He started helping me like with dressing, putting on shoes, making me craving meals, and this were the first times he was cooking. And when the time came, he even asked to be in the room with me to watch the birth of our child, and I accepted it. This wasn't just a phase, because when our daughter was born, he still continued to act caring and sweet with me and with our daughter. He always made me feel loved, secure, and finally special. The other important things he did were getting in shape, returning to the university to take his dream degree while working to maintain us. So now he has his degree. Our daughter came to his big day and even yelled, "Daddy!" making me cry like a baby, haha, and found a pretty good job since a few months. I still can't believe that he is the man that 4 years ago was an amoeba, and now he became the best boyfriend and dad that I can dream. And he is spending a lot of time with our daughter, and they created a special bond, leaving me stunned. And another thing to add is that 2 weeks ago he asked me to marry him, and seeing his drastic change made me say yes. Even his friends, and my family are still in shock and disbelief with his drastic change. So yeah, the situation is this, and sincerely I'm still in shock that he is the same guy 4 years ago. But somehow, and for some reasons that I don't know, he is totally another man, and I can't even think of someone better. P.S. He quit drinking and now 4 years since his last drink. Now for the comments. Good for you. Sounds like your family is important to him enough that he made major changes. I wish you much happiness in your future. What a wonderful story. I was honestly expecting the exact opposite when I read the title, and I'm so happy to see that I was wrong. Congratulations on your daughter and marriage. Family deaths can lead to lots of serious reflection. He probably was already doing a lot of soul searching from their passing, and then you told him you were pregnant and he stepped up. Quitting drinking was a huge step. That alone probably led to a huge change. Congrats. Sounds like my dad. He liked drinking and fighting, lol, before my older sister was born. After she was born, he just stopped. Hasn't been drinking since. Just before I was born, he found his high-end job. That is after they struggled financially because they were so young when they had my sister. They built a house with a garage for us when I was 4. Now they've been together for 43 years. People can change. And I'm so happy that is the case for your boyfriend. Wish you all the best. Update. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my daughter back to her biological mother? Original post. To avoid confusion, my daughter Millie, 14, is biologically my niece. So what happened was, years ago when Millie was about 3, my My sister/her mom, Layla, 38, left to work in another country, leaving Millie in my 44 male care. Millie's father died before she was born. Layla had promised to send money for me to take care of Millie and that she'd call and visit as often as she could, until she could take Millie to live with her permanently. After she left, she called probably 3 times in the first 2 months and then went AWOL. For years, I'd tried to find out what happened and assume the worst, only to hear from one of her friends a couple of years later that she got married to someone else and has an entire new family. I was heartbroken because Millie would ask when her mom was coming back, and I never knew what to say except soon. But even she grew tired of it and realized when she was about 8 that her mom wasn't coming back anytime soon. That's if she was coming back at all. Because of this situation, me and my wife were granted parental rights to Millie, and she couldn't have been happier that we were officially her parents. Well, what do you know? After 11 years, Layla finally graced us with her long overdue return last week, along with her new very wealthy family and 2 children. Most of my family was happy with her return, but me, my mom, dad, and my wife were nothing short of furious. She tried to explain, but all that we heard was I abandoned my own daughter and made a new family. As if that wasn't enough, she practically demanded her daughter back. Mom and dad weren't having it at all, and told her that Millie belongs with me and my wife, and that she no longer has any right to her. Welp, there she goes, screaming at me about stealing her daughter because I was infertile. And to hear that coming out from her mouth hurt me in a way I've never been hurt before, to the point where I cried and left. Me being infertile's always been my weak point, and for her to casually bring it up like that despite being my sister broke me. For the next days, I prevented her from contacting Millie, and I haven't told her that Layla is back, because I'm scared I will lose my daughter. I'm a human being too. I get attached, especially to someone I've had to raise, that too out of my own pocket. Not that I'm complaining. I believe Millie's my daughter, and I can't let her go back to the very same woman who abandoned her. Does this make me the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. She did nothing to raise her for past 11 years, and your parental rights are legal. With that said, Millie's about 14 now, so perhaps the better way is to ask for her opinion and who would she prefer to stay with. As much as this was my biggest fear, I guess it's only fair she gets to make the decision. I was leaning towards everyone sucks here, but this comment about letting your daughter choose make you absolutely not the a-hole. Your sister is cruel and selfish. She will certainly go behind your back, and I'd even bet she would lie to your daughter about you blocking contact for all those years. Show that you're the honest parent. Be approachable, and I'm sure you'll get the outcome you want. Good luck with it all. How the heck could OP suck here? I guess raising a child for 11 years and then giving her to a parent that abandoned her once is a good idea? Seriously, what the actual heck? Not the a-hole. You are her parent. If the state has granted you parental rights due to child abandonment, you are her parent. If your daughter wants to see her biological mother, I wouldn't prevent her from doing it at the end of the day. However, you're still her parent. Edit. I'd like to thank each and every one of you. All your criticism is valid, and I really appreciate you guys for making me realize that I might lose my daughter by keeping the return of her mom away from her. I'd also like to apologize for the way I phrased some of the things. By no means do I think of my daughter as some possession. She is her own person and doesn't belong to anyone. As such, I've changed the phrase belong to belong with to accurately represent what was meant. I love you guys for all the support you've given me, and I definitely will consult a lawyer. Me and my wife have agreed to tell Millie about her mother tonight, and we will make sure it's all about how she feels and not about us. Now for the first update. I would like to apologize for not responding to the comments and messages I've received lately. Things have been tough ever since we told Millie about Layla's return. After all the support and advice, you deserve an update on the situation. I don't even know where to begin, really. Everything has been a mess. Way too much happened the day after we told Millie. Since there's no word limit here, I'll try getting into as much detail as I can. That night, we told Millie that Layla had returned, and for a good few minutes, she was looking at us, as if waiting for us to say we were joking. But after she realized we were not, she broke down into tears and it hurt. Of course, she wanted to know more, and though we were hesitant, we ended up telling her about Layla and her new family. I had never seen her that furious. She was all over the place, throwing stuff around. and we let her because she needed to let it all out. For the night, she refused to talk to me since I should have told her the moment she came back, and my wife stayed with her for the night. Her anger subsided by morning, and we patched things up. At first, she wasn't sure if she wanted anything to do with Layla, but we let her make that choice, and she wanted to see her. And oh, so God help me with that woman. We set up the meeting for Millie and Layla, but she brought her entire family to the house, along with her expensive gifts, and everything went downhill from there. I need to mention a very important part that should have made Layla realize she truly abandoned Millie. Along with the family was her sister-in-law Tanya, who's about the same age as her. When both of them entered, Millie could not even recognize who amongst them was Layla, and they looked worlds apart from each other. I had hoped that was enough to convince her to see what she did, but she carried on and pointed out that she was Layla, all while attempting to get close to her, even when Millie was clearly distancing herself. It got so bad that my wife had to come in between them, and her husband had to pull her away. That's when she started yelling at my wife for coming in between her and Millie, also accusing my wife of replacing her. What was there to replace? She was never there to begin with. And wow, what a first impression she made to the kid she abandoned. Millie became infuriated once more and things were said. When I say she said what needed to be said, I mean it. It was a serious situation, but me and my wife were struggling to hide our smiles when Millie told Layla off. She called her cruel, selfish, disgusting, evil, and many more vile words to express her hatred towards her. Tanya had to take Layla's kids outside. Normally, I would not entertain the vocabulary Millie was using, but for this specific instance, I just had to allow it. She was too worked up after this, and I had to take her upstairs to calm down. Now it was just me and my wife versus Layla and her husband, and along came the usual chorus. She accused us once again, now saying we influenced Millie to hate her. She was in tears, and for a minute I felt sorry for her. My wife politely asked we discuss this like adults. Now the revelations begin, and honestly, I rest my case. As we were recalling events of the past and why Layla never contacted us again, Jeremy, her husband, was visibly confused. He looked lost, completely lost, to the point where I thought he wasn't feeling well, and I offered to take a walk. And well, we started talking about this matter and I was beyond shocked. According to him, when he and Layla met, she never said anything about a child, and only after the marriage did she reveal she had a child. Not by choice anyway, because he found out from one of my billion texts to her regarding Millie. She further lied and said my family forced her to give up her child to me because I was infertile and desperate for a child that shared blood with me. But it doesn't end there. When Jeremy wanted to read the rest of the texts, she deleted them because I was apparently insulting and making threats to her that were so disturbing she didn't want Jeremy to see them. Of course, I showed him the text from my phone, and he couldn't believe it. It gets even worse. It was said that I was preventing her from contacting Millie, and she didn't even want to involve the police in the matter because me and my family were dangerous. So she thought it was best not to contact us anymore to protect her new family. At some point, I was thinking to myself how incredibly stupid Jeremy was to believe Layla's blatant attempts to cover the fact that she abandoned a child. But I feel for the guy. He was probably so smitten with my sister, just like all her exes, that he failed to see through her pretentiousness. I didn't even get to ask why they chose to come back now, because Jeremy was angry and he went back inside fuming. They were fighting so loudly I had to send them outside. It was clearly going to get violent, and we had to physically separate the two. Jeremy took Tanya and the kids and left, leaving Layla there. My very empathetic wife let her stay in our house since she was wailing so much, and honestly, after all the lies, I couldn't care less about her. I did ask Millie if she was okay with Layla spending the night, and after seeing Layla break down like that, I wasn't surprised she let her stay. She made it very clear the only reason she was allowing it is because she's not like her, and that was enough to let me know we've been doing a good job raising her. She also said she was still waiting for her to explain why she abandoned her and why she chose to come back now. We did get to discuss how she felt about Layla overall, and needless to say, she was very disappointed with her approach. I took the chance to assure her she wouldn't be pressured to side with me and my wife, and that she can get to know Layla if she wants to. We would always love her no matter what. She assured me she wouldn't be going anywhere, and it was very emotional for me because my heart was at ease hearing her say that. Layla and Jeremy are still not talking, so Layla lives with us for now, since my parents don't want her at their house either, and my wife thinks it's too unstable to be left alone. But the more she delays us telling the truth, the faster her time is running out in the house. I just don't recognize my sister anymore. She was never like this. My parents raised her so well. I get she was traumatized by Millie's father's death, but surely it's not enough to change someone so drastically. And to abandon your child despite knowing you're the only parent they have left, then coming back after a long time to take her away from people who love her? It just makes it hard for me to sympathize with her. I doubt any one of us will take this to court, now that Layla's husband knows the truth. Give her a time limit. A week should be enough for her to get her act together enough to move forwards. Any longer than that, and you would be actively harming your daughter by having her around. Good luck on your next moves. Oh, don't worry about that. She has until tomorrow to answer Millie's questions. She can come up with the most saint of explanations, but the lies that she told her husband and his family will be her downfall. I know for sure nothing she says will ever convince Millie, and I did tell Layla that I'll drag her out myself if she doesn't leave tomorrow regardless of the explanation, and I would have the abandonment charges pressed against her. I just hope it doesn't come to that, and she just apologizes and peacefully exits our lives, because even now, I still haven't heard a single sorry from her. I can see she's taking advantage of my wife's empathetic nature, but I'm going to end it. Now for the final update. I've been noticing a lot of traction for my updates, and I can see you all want an update. As for the text messages, I've always kept them over the years ever since Layla went AWOL. They weren't just on one platform, but a lot more others. It was also advised by our lawyer to keep them, and that's how we also got Millie's custody. I know from the reader's perspective it seems everything happened fast, but I assure you it didn't. But I have to apologize. I cannot give you a detailed update about Layla's answer, at least not on a post. Yes, it is that bad. Layla's secret is only between me, my wife, and her. She told Millie it was because of her mental stability, but that was only surface level. Millie did tell her it was great that she eventually came back for her, but things are better with her gone, at least for now. The real reason would crush my daughter. We can't tell her until we're sure she can handle it, but I don't see us ever telling her something as horrible as this. Now I know my sister is dealing with her unresolved trauma that has made her the horrible person she is today. She has left, and I made her swear to never come back, but I know better than to take Layla's words for things, so I had to make sure in my own ways. I didn't do anything illegal if that's what you're thinking. Jeremy did come back before finally leaving to apologize to Millie about Layla's actions and told her she's always welcome at his home and can get to know her half-siblings if she wants to. I don't know what will happen between Layla and Jeremy, but for her sake, she had better lie herself out of this one too, because if she tells Jeremy what she said to me, she might not even see her other kids again. But then again, it would be good if the kids are raised by Jeremy and not Layla until she has seen a psychiatrist. I don't know how to feel about Layla now, because on one hand, I can see she's dealing with heavy unresolved trauma that needs professional intervention. But on the other hand, no mother feels the way she feels about my daughter. I am by all means going to delete this update after some time. Edit from a reposter. I heard back from Opie. Since he was not wanting to share the real reason Layla abandoned her daughter, had messaged him to make sure it would be okay to add this final update into this post, since it might result in a barrage of requests to hear what happened. He told me it was okay, because he was about to delete everything anyway. He did share Layla's story with me. I will tell you that Millie was not the product of an assault, as so many in the comments assumed. I asked how Millie was doing after all of this. He said she was handling it really well. I'm pasting this reply about Millie below. My daughter is much better than I thought she would be. Her life and daily habits haven't been affected, and we're moving on as a family. Poor Millie. I can't even imagine how traumatic this whole situation is for her. And for Jeremy and his kids too. I don't understand how Layla thought she could swoop in and play mom to the child she abandoned, or how she thought she could get away with all the lies. In Layla's mind, Millie's still a 3-year-old, because when Layla left, she froze the image of the 3-year-old in her head. Yes, she knows she's aged, and she's 14 years old now, but she still thinks of her as more or less the same person she abandoned 11 years ago. 3-year-olds adore their parents. They love them unconditionally, and when parents inflict trauma on their kids, the kids don't stop loving their parents. They stop loving themselves. You see this in child services cases. Young children will lie, gloss over, and scheme to protect their parents so they can stay with them, even when the parents are harmful and neglectful. Instead of telling a teacher, an 8-year-old will go full mom mode and care for their baby siblings, make sure everyone eats and house looks presentable, and never tell a soul out of fear of being taken from a violent alcoholic parent. That kind of mindset in Millie was probably very present when Layla left. Millie asked for her for years. However, Millie's 14 now, no longer a young child, not clouded to her mother's actions, and she can see Layla for what she is now. If Layla had come back when Millie was 5 to 10 years old, she probably could have had either partially or fully the reunion she had envisioned. Layla just didn't realize that the toddler she left is long gone, and in her place is a clever young woman ready for some answers. When parents inflict trauma on their kids, the kids don't stop loving their parents, they stop loving themselves. As someone severely mistreated by her parents, this comment stuck a needle in my heart and made me tear up. You are so right. It took me so long to love myself over the people who willfully broke me. Thank you for this poignant assertion. I'm sorry. I have a son who is a toddler. He thinks the sun shines out of my rear end. Want to be adored like a celebrity, but don't have any marketable talents. Become a parent. My son thinks I'm the finest chef, the funniest comedian, the most beautiful and smartest person, and the kindest, most wonderful human being in the world. Sometimes I need to do things he doesn't like. Like today, he could hardly breathe because he was so snotty, and I had to briefly pin him to safely scoop it out with a Q-tip. When the snot has been cleaned up and I have let him loose to do what he pleases, and what does he do? He crawls into my lap so I can comfort him, because his mind works under the assumption that I am so kind, smart, and wonderful, that whatever I do was either necessary or he deserved it. When normal people see the way a child loves and trusts, the normal reaction is to break your own back to protect them from pain, hurt, and suffering. Whatever they did, it wasn't your fault. You didn't deserve it, and the blame lies on them. Am I the a-hole for not giving my sister her wedding dress because she didn't invite my underage son? Plus updates. I, 40 male, have a sister, 30 female, who is getting married in a week. The groom proposed to her a year ago at a family dinner that left everyone speechless, but very happy for them as they are longtime companions. During this dinner, my sister asked my son, 17 male, to make her wedding dress. My son has always loved design and fashion. He took technical courses in these areas and sewing, and even his friends keep asking for his clothes because they are so beautiful. He agreed but said that he needed time and that he would need her opinion constantly. At first, my sister was very annoying. My son drew about 50 dress designs in a month, and she only liked one, which he continued with. He sewed it with great quality fabric, which I paid for as I wanted to get involved in a certain way. For 5 months, he made several adjustments to suit her wishes, as she always complained about something. After a while, he arrived at a final model, and it was just amazing. My mother cried seeing my sister in the dress, and I confessed that I almost got emotional too. The problem was that, last week, my son came to talk to me about the wedding invitation that had not arrived for him, but for other family members. I thought maybe he didn't need one, but it still felt weird, so I messaged my sister raising this issue. And she replied that she didn't want any underage people at her wedding because there would be alcohol. I asked if she was going to make an exception for my son, but she cut me off and said no. There are no children in our family. My son is the only minor, so I didn't see any sense in this rule for family members. To make matters worse, my son was very sad and cried because he spent months on this dress, but couldn't go to the wedding. I was very upset and told my sister that she should look for another dress as soon as possible as she would no longer wear the one my son made. She called and yelled at me, saying I was being unreasonable and that I couldn't do this. My mother calling me saying I should deliver the dress and follow the rules, but I didn't and hung up on her. Because of this, the family's divided. Many agree with me and condemn my sister's actions, saying she could only make an exception. But another part says I'm unreasonable, that I'm spoiling her big day. I don't think I'm being wrong, but just rational and paying her back in kind. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. He should go and wear the dress. Would definitely be unexpected. So your sister can't have children at her wedding, but use your son as child labor to make her wedding dress? She's the a-hole. He's responsible enough to make a wedding dress, but heaven forbid he should be around alcohol. Who knows what would happen? Well, if he's not invited, he doesn't need to give a gift. She should pay for the dress. And if she doesn't, you're not a-hole. And it should be the full retail cost for a similar dress. Oh, I'd rather put a price tag on that thing. That equates to how much she hurts her nephew. Like $10K. If she doesn't like the price, she can find a different dress in a week. Now for the first update. First, I would like to thank all the comments and suggestions. I really didn't expect my post to resonate so much. I talked to my son about the suggestions you guys gave me and he agreed to sell the dress at a market price. He calculated the price of everything and the value is quite high. We sent the proposal to my sister and she hated it. She said she couldn't afford it because it was too expensive and it should be a gift because she is family. I responded by saying that it was too easy to say she was family to get a free dress, but not enough to include my son. She cried on a call and begged me to not ruin her day, but I didn't call because that to me was BS. At no point did she offer to just let my son go, nor apologize for it. And for anyone who said that maybe she's homophobic, I'm not sure. But I think who could be influencing her is her fiancé who is a Christian and has never been close to my son. However, I don't care if he's doing it or not. If she wants to exclude my son from this event, then she will also be cutting ties with me. And for those who are asking for a photo of the dress, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but my son didn't agree and unfortunately I won't post it because of that. If anything else happens, I'll let you know. Until then, thank you all. If you don't mind, how much was the value of the dress? Also, you made a good decision. Wishing well for you and your son. Something around 22 to 25K. I think you miscalculated. You forgot the 20% tax because you're taxed for being an a-hole. So that raises the price to $30,000. Please, please, please tell me you have security cameras on your house. She may become unhinged enough to try to steal the dress from your house. Maybe find a secure location to store it until after the wedding. I'll do that. Wow, if she had the audacity to steal the dress, you could file a police report with pictures of the dress and tell the police the exact day she would be wearing it. That would be some present to her to have the police show up and arrest her for wearing a stolen dress and then be perp walked off to jail. That YouTube video would get millions of views. Lol. The family would be in an uproar, but you can point out to them that nobody threatened her and said, go steal that dress. Best to just text her and tell her it was sold for $25,000. And your son was invited to the wedding. I read both your original and updated post. My first thought about her excluding only him is because she doesn't want him to get attention/compliments about him making the dress and how talented he is, because that would take away from her day. I love how you've handled this. You showed your son how to stand up for himself and let him know how important he is to you by standing up for him. I hope it all works out. This is what I thought. If the designer/maker is there, loads of people will compliment him. And she sounds snob enough to be jealous of a 17-year-old boy. Now for the second update. Sorry for the delay. It's been a busy week. My family member skipped my sister's wedding and decided to have a party at a cousin's house instead of attending the wedding. My sister is obviously very upset and has cut us all off her social media. She got another dress to get married, but everyone thought it was cheap compared to what she was going to wear. And I would also like to inform you that someone already bought the dress that my son made. It was a good price, and that will help him cover his college costs. There's not much to say, but I'd just like to make this final point to let you guys know. Tale us all this time. When it comes to free favors and selfish demands, it's all about family comes first. When it comes to someone else's feelings, it becomes it's my wedding day and lifelong dream. Me, me, me. Exactly. If my mother pulled the but family thing to me, I'd be yes, exactly. My son is my family and my priority. It is my sister who has forgotten family. Also, the other response would be, since when are people obligated to give gifts at weddings, of which they have not been invited to and have been specifically banned from attending? I'm glad Dad stuck to his guns. She violated 3 major etiquette rules. That as far as I'm concerned, it's a 3-strike situation. 1. You don't expect wedding gifts from people not invited to your wedding. 2. You don't expect minor children to give you a gift worth tens of thousands of dollars. And 3. If a family member does a major favor that helps make your wedding, like photography, cake, flowers, etc., they get an automatic invite and are publicly thanked in the wedding speeches at bare minimum. because they deserve recognition and respect for their hard work and skill. Imagine how simple this could have ended. Kid is invited and thanked with one sentence in wedding. Everybody's happy. No money, no issue, nothing. Opie's sister seriously expected to get her wedding dress for free and get away with not inviting her nephew who did a whole dress. This entire situation could have been avoided if she just invited Opie's son. It's wild. I don't understand how she would think she could do that. Just invite the lad. He's essentially gifted her $20,000+, which is likely the most expensive gift she'll get. Next story. Am I the a-hole for uninviting my mother-in-law for my wedding after she tried to sabotage my wedding dress? My future mother-in-law has never been a fan of me, 26 female, for the entire duration of mine and my fiancé's 29 male relationship. I'm honestly not sure why it is that she's always disliked me and been cold to me. But after multiple attempts over the years to build some type of relationship with her, in the 4 years we've been together, nothing has worked. She couldn't care about me, up until the wedding planning started a few months ago. My fiancé and I are paying for majority of the wedding ourselves, while my dad and stepmom are financially contributing as well. Mother-in-law and father-in-law have not contributed at all, but mother-in-law is giving her opinion on things as if she's footing the bill. You should make the themes this color. Make sure you have this dish on the menu to be served. Don't do an open bar. You don't want people being too rowdy. Make sure me, my sister, and cousin are sitting front row at the wedding ceremony, etc., etc. My fiancé and I are absolutely sick of this. Every time she tries to give an opinion, we politely shut it down and tell her we have it under control, but she just never gets the hint. But before she became such a nightmare, I regretfully invited her to come dress shopping, because I didn't want her to feel left out. Well, a few weeks ago, we went dress shopping. My mom and close friends came too, and I found my dream wedding dress. I have a curvy hourglass figure, and I found a dress that shows off my figure perfectly and makes me feel gorgeous. The dress is kind of revealing, low cuts on the chest and mermaid style, but it's nothing I'd be ashamed of my family and friends seeing me in. My mother-in-law, on the other hand, have hated the dress I chose. She made sure to express that to me multiple times. She even went as far as to say, "This is a wedding, not a strip club. I don't like it." Well, I bought the dress anyway since I'm the one paying for it after all. Then last night, while my fiancé and I are cleaning up after dinner, I received a call from the shop I ordered my dress from. They were calling me concerned because apparently a lady, my mother-in-law, called them pretending to be me and wanted to switch the dress I chose to a more appropriate dress. The sales associate realized that it wasn't my phone number that called to make the change and called me immediately to confirm before they changed the order. I was livid. My fiancé heard the entire conversation and was livid as well. He called his mom to confront her, and she fessed up after denying it a few times. I told her if she's so bothered by my dress, consider herself uninvited from the wedding, and hung up on her. Safe to say, she is not happy. She's been calling both my husband and I non-stop, trying to defend herself, but I've had enough. I feel bad for my fiancé though, because he won't get to have his planned dance with her. Did I take it too far? Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Nope, nope, nope. If she's doing this before the wedding, what will she do at the wedding? My money is on she wears white to the ceremony, but I may be a bit jaded after hanging around r/just no mother-in-law. Also, not the a-hole. That, or she spills something in Opie's dress during the wedding, and then conveniently has a more appropriate dress on standby. Definitely not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. An important lesson learned. Your fiancé is willing to stand up to his mother to defend you. Keep an eye on how he acts and reacts as this continues. While it would be an a-hole to set up something like this to test him, it is a test of your relationship and interactions. And it is entirely appropriate to use it as a moment to get a glimpse of what your future together may be. I'm not really worried about this. Before we even got engaged, I made it clear to him my expectations when it comes to his mother, because we both got the vibe she wasn't a fan of me. He's shown me over the past 4 years that he prioritizes me over his mother. He stood up for me countless times over the years, which has tried to make passive-aggressive comments to me, and has told her that we are a package deal, like it or not. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my stepson to move in? My husband and I have 4 children below 7 years old. My husband has an older son, 15, with his ex, and is also dad to her older son, 20. We live in a 3-bedroom house. When my stepson stays, he sleeps on a couch. Despite him not really living with us, my husband is still active in his life and spends lots of time with him. My stepson's mom has 3 younger kids with her ex-husband and recently got a new boyfriend. She lives in a 2-bedroom apartment with stepson getting a room, the younger 3 sharing, and her using living room as a bedroom. Her taste in men is awful, and her newest boyfriend is no different. My stepson has awful things to say about him. Despite this, and despite the fact she's only been dating him for around 10 months, though she's known him longer, she's moving in with him in a week. He is somewhat well off and lives in an empty 4-bedroom house, as his kids are all adults. There's a clear benefit for the kids to have a bigger space and a yard, but obviously a much bigger danger in moving your kids in with a man you haven't been dating for long. My husband has tried to urge her out of making this choice, but she seems set on it. She has major mental health issues and doesn't receive any child support from her ex-husband, so I understand to an extent why she needs to rely on a new boyfriend so heavily. A month ago, my stepson got into an argument with his mom and stayed with us for a few nights, before going to his great-grandpa's, who he has stayed with since. He has said that he will never move into the boyfriend's house. Then last week, he asked his dad if he could move in with us, and we told him we'd discuss it. I don't like the idea for a few reasons. The main one is space, as we don't have a lot of it. He would either have to share with one of his much younger brothers, or we'd have to give him his own room and cram 4 kids in together. Another reason is that my stepson isn't exactly the easiest teenager, and has already proven to be a bad influence on my younger kids. And he has a bad temper. I told my husband this, and although he wasn't happy and tried to change my mind, he did go back to his son and tell him that it couldn't happen right now. If there weren't other options for him, my answer would be different. His grandpa's had spare room, and has already said he can stay for as long as he wants. My husband and I are also looking at other rental options, with 4 bedrooms for us to possibly move in the near future. We had dinner with stepson a few nights ago, and explained the reasoning and told him he was still welcome whenever he wants. He doesn't seem too upset, and is comfortable at his grandpa's. However, his older brother has apparently found out about the situation. He's in the military in another state, and has called my husband up to call him a POS, and evidently blamed the whole situation on me. Are we being a-holes? Is it not better to be in a home where he has his own space, and is still close by both parents? Everyone sucks here. You, his dad, his mom, the boyfriend, everybody. Everybody created new families and seems to expect the teenager to fend for himself. He's in a bad situation with his equally crappy mom. As a father, your husband needs to man up and step in as a parent to ensure that he doesn't fall through the cracks. The tone of your post reads that you don't care about anyone other than the kids you created. If the young man has issues, who could blame him? The adults in his life are failing him. Absolutely. It's heartbreaking that both his parents and stepmother have completely failed him. I have a feeling the supposed search for a 4-bedroom house will never happen, and I doubt OP's seriously trying to fix the issue here. Especially since if they truly were trying to find a new place, then why mention all the other reasons she does not want the stepson living with them? I call BS. Everyone sucks here, except the stepson and the grandparent. Thank goodness for those grandparents. Wow, are you the a-hole? Honestly, given everything you just wrote, why is your stepson not already living with you? He and his half-siblings are crammed into a smaller space, with a mother with serious mental health issues, terrible taste in men, and financial woes. And you guys let him sleep on your couch sometimes? Honestly, WTF, lady? Of course he's not the easiest teenager. Look at what he's living through, with no support from his dad or you apparently. And now you turn him away knowing full well what a crappy situation he might be walking into? As far as they get his mom's choice in men, I guess that's accurate, because your husband appears to be an absolute crap dad, and I can't say much of his choice in women either.